Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Be Awesome Network and to the bigger picture. Today, I am talking with these three amazing ladies, Tara, Katish, and Calleen, about what spirituality really means to them and to me, and to maybe people who are joining us live with this conversation. My name is Gina. I'm living in Amsterdam. I'm a health stylist, and these ladies will introduce themselves. Who's first?
I'm Katish. I live in Australia. I am an intuitive consultant, an author, a channel of the angels and the archangels, and whatever else I need to be on the day. Mum.
Wow.
I'm Tara, and I'm tuning in from the west of Ireland in a town called Galway, and I'm a host of Angels Connect podcast, which is it's so exciting. It's actually relaunching this Sunday. So I have main mission is to share angel stories, and my work these days is all around returning to love. So I support people to move away from fear and open their hearts more so that they can connect more deeply.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Colleen.
And hello, I am Colleen. I am tuning in from St. Petersburg, Florida. So we're all around the globe. I love that. I am a soul remembrance guide. I hold sacred space for others to really feel safe and witnessed and be able to really start releasing what is no longer serving them. It's not even theirs to carry, and really start to remember who they are on a soul level. That's a little bit about me. I'm a mom and all other things too. But that is my mission, is the soul remembrance guide.
Beautiful. So happy to have you all here. Indeed, global, because we're from all the other ends of the world, like from Australia to the US and from Holland to Ireland. And so it's amazing that this can happen. So today's topic is about spirituality and what does it really mean, because there is a lot of bias around it. Some people don't even dare to talk about it. Some people see it as something woohoo or something crazy. And I think today is a good opportunity to set that right and just share your stories um, about the work that you do and your experiences. And for me as a witness, because I am not a spiritual teacher, but I do have my gifts. But I really would love to hear from all of you what you want to share with the audience. So who wants to go first about what spirituality really is, in your opinion?
Well, I think that spirituality is just a label, just like religion is a label. And I think the best way to define something is not through a definition, but through action and the way that you live. So I think the most important thing to do is to not make anybody wrong. So because you feel you live a spiritual life does not mean that somebody who feels that they live a religious life is a bad person or a wrong person or on the wrong path. I think that's the first thing to clear up, is that there should be no right and wrong. There should be no good and bad. There should be, you're not more aligned or heart-centered or elevated or ascended than me, or whatever term you want out of the dictionary. You just live the life that you were called to lead. You do it out of good actions, good motives, good intentions, a good heart, and you be the best person you are without worrying what label you need to put on yourself and others. That's just what my opinion of spirituality is, because I have a podcast which I click into the spirituality and religious category, but it's just really about me and my life and how I help people. And it's for people to fit into a category when they're looking for a podcast. It's not for the way that I operate in the world. I don't have a definition of spirituality. I have definitions of what moves me how I receive messages in the world, how I can help people, but I don't put a label on it. So I hope that's helpful for people.
Thank you so much. Tara.
For me, it's really, really simple. Spirituality for me is a living practice. It's a relationship, and it's about connection. And that connection between me and the divine, or source, or whatever you want to call it, light. And that connection, it's like this living this connection. The more I connect, the more I open, the more I feel it. And I guess when spirituality, let's go back to just back in the days, religion was really confusing for me as a kid, because my mom was Catholic. My mom, oh gosh, she'd kill me if she heard me. My mom was Protestant and my dad was Catholic. And in the 50s, in Ireland where I was living, it was predominantly Catholic. So they married, and they married for love. And essentially, when you strip back spirituality, for me, fundamentally, it brings everything back to love. So the better I get at growing love, being love, and that for me is spirituality. So they were rule breakers, and they taught me a lot.
Awesome. Calleen.
I totally agree. Spirituality is it's a label. It really is. It's all about our connection to the truth of who we are and who we're tapping into. It doesn't matter as long as it's unconditional love and you feel the joy and love within you. That is spirituality, and religion can really weave a beautiful path if we leave the labels out and just really sit with ourselves and ask ourselves, leave all the noise, all the other people's opinion out, and come back to ourselves and remember and listen to our soul's whispers. We are the creator of our destiny. We are the messages and energies are flowing through now. It's just we are all one, and that's spiritual to me. It's all of our connection together, the truth of who we all are without all the noise, just coming back to self and really feeling each other's hearts and the earth and just tuning into our bodies and our bodies' messages. To me, that's spirituality, which you can label it whatever you want, but that to me is the truth. That's it. It's the truth.
Beautiful. I so love this. I grew up without religion, and there was really something against it when I was growing up. So for me, it was like a journey that I went on, because I felt always there was something more, but I had to keep that for myself. And I was this clairsentient, so I always knew things up front, and I was really tapping into that as a child already. But it was my secret, so I got this nickname later on as a witch. I was a witch. So when I was younger, I thought it was a curse to be a witch, and later on I learned it's a compliment. So for me, it's also something beautiful, and I really don't like putting people in boxes or putting labels on things. Everybody has their own preferences, also with clothing and decoration, and so also with religion and with everything else that we want to do for ourselves. And as long as you do no harm to other people with it, why can't we just accept everybody for who we are and what we do and our choices that we make, right? So that's the way I look at it, and I really welcome all of it, because I think there is so much to learn from everyone, and in everything is something that we can take a piece of that will help us moving forward in life. Maybe it's also nice for you all to share how you found out when you were growing up, or maybe already knew when you were very little that you had this gift, because I'm really curious about that. Who
I'll
wants to go
go.
first? Yeah, you go.
I spent a lot of time alone. Like many of us, we had a rough kind of upbringing. So I spent a lot of time alone, which really helped me because I could see spirit, feel spirit, and actually one of my best friends was Jesus. And it wasn't the religious Jesus, it was my brother, my confidant, my protector. And I thought it was normal. When I would say, oh, Jesus said this, Jesus said that, people's like, you're not hearing Jesus. You're not seeing angels. So along the way, it got pushed away and pushed aside. And I longed for that for years and escaped, the feeling of that by other things, other means. But what really brought me back is my work with hospice. I was a hospice caregiver for almost 30 years, and sitting beside and speaking to the patients and their family at the end of this earthly life, because we never really die, we just transform, but that's another story. We just leave our body and we're still here in spirit. But that's when I started in those rooms where everything was quiet. I started to really start hearing and seeing and feeling those again. I'd listen to the patient say, Calleen, do you hear him? Do you see my mom? And I could see glimpses and feel. And that's when the light really started turning on. And at the end of that, I was really called to transition from hospice now to help people live from not just surviving, but thriving. And that's where the soul remembrance guide comes in, is to really hold sacred space, as I did with hospice. I held sacred space, and that's when people were able to release and really remember. That's when the soul really starts to remember, is when they're heard and listened and witnessed, really listened to. So that's what I do now, is I help people remember who they are on a soul level. And it happens gradually, but it happens. And that's a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah, amazing. So, who wants to go next?
I can jump in. For me, I guess mainly as a teenager. As a kid, I think I heard more kind of nature beings and was very aware of kind of the trees and the flowers and you know, communicating. I was always talking. I always felt a presence, um, and a very comforting presence as a kid. And then in my teenage years, the first instance was on a holiday, on a trip when I was in France, and I was in a cathedral and I was lighting a candle. And before I left this particular place in France, um, it was actually Trays of Lisieux and the cathedral there. And I went back, I was leaving with everybody, and then I ran back in. And as I was lighting the candle, I heard, "You will return." And that, I was just kind of like, where did that come out of? But I didn't think really much of it. And then fast forwarding on, I was 16, I was very, very sick, and I had an out of body experience. And in that, I really, as I was rising up from the bed, in the corner of the room, there was like huge white light. And I saw the face of Christ, and I was just being pulled towards it, and the feeling was just pure bliss. And I heard the words, "It's not your time yet." And after I heard the words, I came back into my body, and from that second on, I began to get better. I could suddenly tolerate water and food and things like that, and I had been severely sick up to that. Um, and then my car accident, Christmas Day, 2007. I was on night duty and I was in charge, and I had all the crisps and all the, no canteens open in the hospital on Christmas Day, and driving along, and I hit black ice and the car flipped a couple of times and I went through a wall and landed on my side. And just before just before the car, in mid-flip kind of thing, the car filled with the most amazing presence. And I'll never be able to describe or do justice to the feeling, because it was like bliss 400. It was the most gorgeous feeling in the world. And I just knew I wasn't on my own. And I just got memories of because it was Christmas morning, I had seen everybody and I went, well, at least everybody got their Christmas presents. And I knew I was going to die. Like I knew, and I let go of the wheel, and I didn't wake up. It was like I was sideways in the car, and I survived. And I should not be here. When I saw the car afterwards, there's no way I should be here at all. And I live today, tell the tale. And I've had about 4 other instances of near misses. So that was going on through my life. No more than calling. When I was a nurse, I would hear Tara. I'd hear my name more than anything. Go here, go there, go the other. And it would always be for a reason. And then I was always a sensitive kid. And then spirituality was kind of alongside the nursing. And when I left nursing then and became a psychotherapist, looking back on it, I was kind of like, gosh, there was a real fork in the road, and where I didn't dive fully into the whole spirituality and being, an official light worker, let's say. It's interesting now how I'm finding myself. A year ago, I had an angel visitation, and a really strong one. And that really cemented everything for me. And when I heard the words talk about angels, that then put me on another trajectory, which has led me to here and has led me to, saying goodbye now to the therapy world and going full time into this. It's kind of like I've been getting the calling. It's kind of like, and I'm showing up now.
Yeah, it's time now.
It's time
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
Katische, please.
Well, I found that very interesting, Tara, in that my parents were both, one was Catholic, that's my mum, she's still alive, and my father, he's no longer here, he was Protestant. So I know the same kind of a feeling. It was also controversial here in Australia in that time period. So my growing up was in a religious context, but not in the family household. My parents did what they called their civic duty to give me a religious background so I could make my own decision, as Dad would say. So Dad would drive me to church every Sunday, and he would sit in the car park and read the paper. And off I would go to Sunday school, and I loved it. I would, sing songs all about Jesus. I can still sometimes catch myself singing the songs about Jesus in the kitchen. I went to all the Sunday school camps, and I really enjoyed it. And it was when I was about 10 years old, I think. I said to Dad, I've had enough now, thank you. And he said, rightio, we don't need to go anymore. So mine started off as a religious exploration. I think I was curious. And when I was in high school, we had a subject that not many students studied, which was study of religion. We studied all of the religions, the main religions in the world. I went to a non-denominational school, which meant we had no church, we had no service, we had no religious affiliation on purpose. That was the school. And I chose to study religion. I wasn't going to church at that time. I didn't see myself as religious, but I was fascinated. And why that was important for me was that but the major part of my spiritual gifts coming forth for service, I had to identify and understand that I had lived before in other lifetimes where I had followed religious paths very, very strictly, and where I had felt that the religion that I followed did not concur with my experience in the between realms or heaven or the afterlife or whatever you had. So I would say that my memories and the past life regressions that I have done were very traumatic, because as my soul is described as being on purpose disruptive to religion, so that we could get through the pure message. So I've remembered lifetimes as a monk, as a nun, and in the Brahmin culture of India. So I do have very strong remembrance of being in service to religion, and this was not the lifetime to explore that. This was the lifetime to heal that for me, so that I would heal anything that I had left over that was anger or resentment, so that when I met people of different religions and different faiths and different cultures and different beliefs, that I would be open and welcoming, and not the kind of person that was trying to engage in dogmatic conversations about good versus bad. So in my lifetime, before my spiritual gifts opened up, the pivotal figure was Jesus. And I think that is interesting, because it was one of the big questions that I always had as a child, because I was born on Christmas Eve, 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve. You can't get a closer date to Jesus's birth, even though we know it's not historically accurate, than to be born on Christmas Eve. I came early, and I remember having a podcast guest on, and I said to her, she was somebody who could channel Jesus and the Ascended Masters, and I looked at her and I said to her, I always thought it was a bit odd being born on Christmas Eve, and I always felt like Jesus was my best friend, yet I'm not religious. Is that something there? Do I actually have a connection with Jesus? And she looked and she smiled, and she looked at him and she started laughing, and she said, yeah, I think you need to explore that. And so a lot of my early past life regressions were exploring religious trauma, and Jesus was a key pivotal figure in helping me heal that religious trauma, so that then I could connect to the angels and the archangels without having to see them necessarily as a religious connection, more of a transcendent, holy connection, without being associated with one religion, because angels belong to everybody. So I'll leave it at that, but I just wanted to share that. And I guess my connection with Calleen and Tara also is that they started coming online very, very quickly, from the point at which I experienced a double intersection in my life, which was that my father died, and I was involved in his hospice care, and I helped him go to the after. Well, he died. I saw his last breath. I saw his tear. I was involved in his intimate care, and I went through a divorce at the same time. So 2 deaths, 2 major male figures in my life, which led me to Buddhism, which then led me into my spiritual gifts. So it's interesting how this panel here today we've got shared experiences, although different, but they're quite insightful into the journey that we've all had so far.
I
Yeah,
love
thank
that.
you for
Same
sharing.
path.
Yeah,
Same
it's also
path.
very, very interesting how a severe trauma always seems to occur before it opens up, before it sees the light, you know. I don't know how to call it, but um, is that normal? Is that what happened to everyone who starts to awaken with it?
I believe it does on different levels. Some people, just rock bottom, if you want to call it trauma. Some people just experience life harder than others, and when it's time for them to start on their journey of remembering, um, but it seems like it does happen to the ones that are really called to, I want to say, lead the light. We're all leaders in our own right, but to really hold the mirror, the light, the illumination for others, which I think we all are. we have a little bit more disruption in our lives to really shake us. And others do too, but sometimes they're not ready. And I believe that when they're ready, they will. I'm hearing the word transcend. I hear words sometimes I don't even know what they are because I have a little bit of neurodivergent little. So I hear words. I'm like, what does that mean? But transcend the darkness into light, if that's making any sense. But that's what I'm feeling is a lot of, but I do believe that a lot of it comes from trauma or our life experiences, and we're learning from them and moving through that.
But is it also because you're more in tune to what's happening around you because you're, I don't know how to explain this in English, but if I go from my own experience, I always had to be very much aware of my surroundings. So you tune into every little detail, what's going on. So you're so finely in tune with everything that's happening that you pick up all these signals more easy.
Yeah, I think it really does just depend upon your life path and what you've chosen to come here for. Some people are born with all of their spiritual gifts intact. From the minute they're here, they can see and experience, feel, communicate. Other people go through their lifetime and they will have no spiritual experience because they may have decided to come with a soul contract that says, I will be somebody who is in the background for someone else. I will be the opposite of what somebody needs in order to be the grit or the sandpaper to drive somebody else towards a spiritual experience or a religious experience, or perhaps they are needed on society to be neither spiritual nor religious because they're going to bring some kind of advancement in a technology or an education sector or I don't know, I'm hearing mining sector, but something like that, because their skills in this lifetime are required for something very, very specific. And so I think that one of the things that we have to be careful about is to not say that somebody is having a sleeping lifetime or an unaware lifetime, because we all have specific things that we come here for. And so sometimes we come here and we're aware of that path immediately. Sometimes we just, Archangel Michael always says to me, do you remember how long your list of things is that you wanted to do this time? Well, that's why it took you so long to be aware of your gifts, because you had a list a mile long and you were adamant that you were ticking them off. So when we argued with you and you said no, and you're a very stubborn personality. So people come with different lists is the best way that I've seen it. And those lists determine what they actually do. So we should never judge somebody else's list. And we should never also think that we're behind, that somebody is more aware than us, or that I haven't had the right background, or my parents didn't provide me with the right environment. I think it all makes sense afterwards, and we got exactly what we needed. And if we missed the signs, like we were supposed to have some major spiritual awakening and it didn't happen this lifetime, you know what? Nobody's punishing you for it. It's just that you had other priorities and your senses were tuned into other things that were really the most important thing for you at that time. Yeah. And, as Calleen said at the very start of this, the pressure that exists in society because we think there's only one life is what makes people make decisions too quickly, too fast, and not from a grounded and heart-centered place, because they think, I'm only here once. I have to do it all, and I have to get it perfect, and I have to, and I have to, and I have to, and I have to. And when we make decisions really fast and we put that much pressure on ourselves, we can't relax. And it's when we're relaxed, we can relax into the messages and the energy so that we can pick up on some of the more subtle things that we came here to do as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Tara.
I think it's really individual to the person, and things can go either way. Kind of like I guess at the time when that angel visitation happened me, my mother had died and she'd be dead a year, but I had a really strong sense that she hadn't fully crossed over. And it was a really unusual sense. I just had this feeling, and when I experienced that beautiful vibration and the whole expansion within me, I knew for sure after that that she had fully crossed over. And I had about 3 or 4 months where I was flying high. I was on top of the world. I was really, everything was like going my way. And then I hit into a traumatic situation. That said, I had also come from, there was, I guess I'd lived with multiple traumas in my life. And what's interesting about that French connection, I go back to it when I first heard that as a teenager. My brother was missing for 6 weeks and he died in France. And, years later, I kind of think, oh gosh, I wonder, like I just think about that connection. I just think about the whole France thing. Um, so I think in a way you're right, Gina, in the sense that perhaps like everybody can connect. Everybody, it's available to everybody. I I think we choose to. I know for myself, it's like I was so fascinated with connection. The more I could hear, it was like I wanted to hear more. I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn more. Um, and the history of traumas I've been through, like that's super helpful because you know the hardness of life and the way things can be. And like, okay, ultimately we want to experience more joy and love and harmony. And it isn't like that all the time. So it just reminds me all the time of bringing everything back to love, and that keeps me. It's like my goal in life is I want to get really good at that because sometimes I'm really not good. And now I have the awareness to know when I'm out of line. And it's kind of like, bringing it back. And I think the more we can do that, the more we're bringing forth this love into the world. I have this thing about love breaths and, sending love and light into ley lines and just the earth. And it's like, if each one of us did that, like, wow, what a difference that could make too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing all this. And there's also a counter side to this story about, spiritual paths and people who are like you three are, like using this as your tools and work with. And, I know also in society there are a lot of people against it or afraid of it. And how do you deal with that? Because I also notice, when you put something out, people responding in certain ways that I'm like, okay, I'm very curious what's driving these people to be afraid or judgmental of it. Do you have any answers to that?
Well, I believe this is my truth that we all are conditioned. We've all had, our grandmothers, our great grandfathers, all of them, learn even from history has told us, you know, this should be this is a sin for this. It's all about coming back to ourselves and remembering who we are on a soul level and letting go of the noise. It and people are conditioned. Like I believe in the Holy Spirit, God, Goddess, that unconditional loving energy, whatever you want to call it. I know everybody has a different name for that beautiful energy that we are. We are that connection. We are that spark. We are a fractal of that. So we're no less than. We are that. So when I bring out my cards or sound or crystals, they're just tools. There's not, they're like the crystals are part of the earth. but that doesn't make, again, that's a title of being a witch or a shaman or a priestess. I'm all it's all connected. And that's what my prayer intention is out in the world, is we all come back to the truth of who we are, and know that we're all one and we're all connected, however that is, and to let go of the labels and the judgment, just come from a place of love, like our brother Jesus. What he spoke in his day is, that's what we're doing. We're just not walking the we're doing it in modern days, like, hi, across the globe. We don't have to put these sandals on and walk around with Mary Magdalene and his partner. But anyways, that's another story. But we're doing that, just because we do it a different way than the church does, or whatever. It's all one. It's the same path of love, light, and just honoring who we are first. That's so important. That's what I tell my clients and loved ones, is to really return to self, listen to yourself, and the rest, let go. Let go. And just love yourself, and that organically ripples out to everyone else. That love for self. And that's the key. That's all that Jesus asked for and beyond has asked for. It's just remember your love, and love everyone, because we're mirrors of everyone. That's my take on it.
Great. Katish, you want to say something?
Well, I guess I don't have the experience of receiving that sort of hatred or negative commentary, because I guess a lot of the I don't really pay attention to the comments and things like that. So for me, I just do what's authentic to me. And sure, I have had my own journey with people finding what I do weird or not understanding it. And it's just allowing them to detach from me personally, meaning that if they don't resonate with what I say or I do, but they was maybe somebody who was important to me in my childhood or at school or something like that, in my academic career or corporate career, it's just to let them be on their path, and to remember them fondly and still as who they were in that moment in time, because that's how they come back to interact with you, from the moment that they experienced you where you had that greatest connection. So I always know in my own inner circles who I can speak to about spirituality with, and then who's not open to it. And I don't force those conversations. And if people who are not open to it or have different opinions to me, or don't believe in what I believe in, then sure, it can feel a bit disheartening. It might feel like we have some kind of a missed connection there, but you've just got to get your big girl boots on and realize it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. And I guess one of the things that is important is to understand that sometimes the very thing that you might say that agitates or aggravates or angers somebody is the very wound where the light enters. So they, in reflecting with their anger and commenting with their anger, if they're on their own journey of understanding their own emotions, their own thoughts and their own feelings, and they're at that point where they become aware of their own feelings, become aware of their own emotions, and become aware of the power of their words, then they will say what they will say. And you may flinch or reflect with, ouch, that hurt. And in the moment, they may not even realize that they have caused a rupture between you and them with their words. If they are on their journey of just simply emotional and thought-based awareness, then they will realize later, in a dream, in a quiet moment, when they're having a shower or having a cup of tea, oh, that wasn't such a kind thing to say. Why did I say that? And so simply those kinds of people, then the words that you said that really bird up for them, that allows them to go on their own self-reflection journey about those things. It's the people who comment for hate's sake, for being a keyboard warrior's sake, they have a lot of work to do yet to deal with their own awareness of their own emotions and their own anger. And we just provide the catalyst for them to, I guess, continue to feel that anger, because to be aware of emotion and how you are being in the world, you have to feel it first. It's as dangerous to suppress it. So we can learn to just bless their souls, as I say, bless your soul, or I always say, as Lorna would say, Lorna Byrne, Lorna, have you got an unemployed angel to send to them? Or is Archangel Raphael around, please? Can we send them some love? And, originally early in the journey, they would say to me, well, if they're aware of angels and they will accept it, then, sure, we will send an angel. And now they say, sure, Katish, we will send as many angels as it makes you feel comfortable with, because we know that it worries you more than it worries them. So it's just that journey of realizing that, being an aware person, whether you're spiritual or religious or not, starts with your own thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and being aware of those. So I guess my caution to everybody is, yes, you're a human being, you're a feeling being, you're an emotional being. What people say to you hurts you, but also you are a catalyst for them, and job done.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Tara.
What's left to say? My gosh, so much. I think just acknowledging the hurt, and the historical misuse of power that has been associated, so that lots of people, might have had really horrible experiences. So, I get that. That's why it's really so important now that, we are intentionally coming from a place of love. And if that's always our intention, we're bringing that light with us. It's like we do not want to hurt anybody, in any shape or form, and that's the difference, but it's important to acknowledge the hurt, I believe, of historically what might have happened, what did happen. It's not might, did. And that's important, and healing is happening, and it happens a lot faster when we provide the right conditions for it.
Yeah.
And the simplest is, I'm here with you and I love you.
Yeah. That easy. Right? Yeah.
Well, for me it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, I just want to give all three of you an opportunity to share something that I didn't ask yet, just to leave your mark here, to let people connect with you, ask a question they were afraid to ask before, or whatever reason they want to reach out. So I want to give you all a few minutes to share whatever you want to share about your work. Calleen?
Me? Well, as I said before, I'm a soul remembrance guide, and I'm here. My mission is just to hold sacred space, and in that container, the field that we create together, that's where the magic happens. That's where you're able to just be witnessed. Things are organically, naturally releasing, and I'm hearing very clearly, that's when you're able to let go of what is not serving you any longer. We are in the time now, is ready. everyone is preparing to be aware. I know it was said in the panel today that, everybody's on their own path, and some people aren't even here to be aware. And I do believe that that is true, but they need the right conditions, the right witnessing, the right frequencies to help them be aware of their own truth. And that's what I'm called to do, is sit beside them and welcome them home to themselves. Because what I say is we've never been kicked out of the garden. Never. And what I do, I have a monthly membership called Whispers in the Garden, where monthly we get together, we have ceremony, we have energy releasing, we have witnessing, we come together because it's so important, just like we're doing now. Come together and have these talks and reconnect like we did in ancient times. We've always connected, whether it be temple, circle, out in the land. And the divine is calling us back to that sacred space. And so that's what I do. I create the space. Thank you, we create the space together. So it's called Whispers in the Garden, a monthly membership. So, and you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, which I'm on it a little bit, but Facebook is my jam. I
Thank
guess
you.
for us older
Yeah.
older gals, it's Facebook.
Amen. You can put your link later in the comments if you want, so
Okay.
people can connect. Katish, what do you want to share?
Oh, it's just wonderful to be here and to meet everybody and to feel the energy. I hope that everybody found something inspiring and that they can connect with everyone and anyone who resonated with them. I'm going to give you a little plug for something that is brand new in my world that I only created yesterday. So you won't find much evidence of it yet, but it comes from my past as a past life regression therapist. So those of you who aren't in that space, that's okay. I don't work there anymore anyway, but I got guidance to create a brand new fun podcast, which the episodes will be 10 minutes in length, so really tiny, which is unusual for me because I can talk for hours. And these are it's called a hotline to the past. What it is that I've been guided to share some joy and fun and to show people that there are people who love them and have a positive message from other lifetimes. So I'm looking for guests for the new season. And what happens is that I will bring through and channel, so bring through messages directly in their voice from somebody that you know from another lifetime. So it's meant to be fun, it's meant to be encouraging, and they're going to bring you through a fun message. So if you feel like you're ready to take the telephone call from another lifetime and discover somebody who's loving, that's not a religious or an angel or a spiritual figure, but is somebody you know and you're up for the adventure or the challenge, then you can connect with me on my website or on Instagram or on Facebook and look for the retro style telephone and then click on the link. And I hope people enjoy that. That's going to be a fun new thing for me.
Oh, wow.
And
I love
everyone.
that. Yeah. So you can also put your link in the comment if you would like to, and people can connect. I love that idea. Tara.
Yes, I would love and invite anybody to connect with me, and you can very easily connect with me at tarahynes.ie. And if you want to feel a little bit lighter, if you want to access a little bit of heart energy, if you're sick and tired of feeling afraid or scared, come over and I'll show you how to make things a lot easier and bring more love into your life if that's what you're interested in doing. And I would love, if there's anybody listening, you would help us so much to tune in on Sunday, July the 5th, and listen to a story of Angels Connect. That would really help it, because there's been beautiful people coming on sharing their stories. And I started off with 5 little stories and it's growing. and it's just about sharing angel stories and angel connection. So anybody that listens to it, apparently it's important to do it on July the 5th. This is what I was told. So I invite the audience to do that. Thank you, Gina, for the opportunity.
Beautiful. Yeah, amazing. So you also dropped your link, of course, in the comments then, so people can connect. I really loved our time together, and it was really inspiring and informative. I learned a lot, and thank you all for being here. Katish, thank you for getting up so early, as it's now you're 6 a.m.
6:30 now. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So, and
Time for a cup of tea.
yeah, have your morning walk. So, and yeah, all have a great day or a great evening. And thanks everybody for watching. Please reach out to one of these beautiful ladies and connect with them. So, see you next week with the next Unfiltered Conversation. Bye.
Bye-bye.